to a new episode of Startup Mavericks, the good, the bad, and the lessons. And in this podcast, we talk to early stage founders and coaches to discuss everything that's going on the path of building a startup, right? Especially from different perspectives. And today I'm happy to host the founders of Glazed. Welcome. Please quickly introduce yourself and also your startup.
Yes, thanks for having us. So my name is Philipp. My name is Asís. And together we're building Glazed. It's an analytics platform that is focused on product analytics, but it should be easy to use. So we focus on non-technical people so they can also extract insights and have access to data in just a couple of clicks.
Sounds like Google Analytics, isn't it? Oh, okay, nice. So yeah, what's the difference to existing tools?
The biggest difference is the visual appearance, the user interface, because we have a link to the actual design files of the actual digital product. So you see what you can interact with and extract your insights.
So like a drag and drop data analytics tool, Asís, sort of?
It's more about clicking to interact. So traditionally, dashboards and design has been separated. So if you want to know something about your product, you need to know what the event name is, query it on the database, and then somebody has to make a report and you only see the numbers, right? What we're doing is that you can access the numbers directly through the design of the product. So say you want to know how many people are clicking on your pay button. You don't have to go to the database, you click directly to your pay button, and then the numbers will load and you can then filter down, drill down to find further insights.
So which companies, for example, would have such an interface already where you could easily, put yours on, how would you say that? And then maybe you can give us a scenario of a company and its product, how it would work.
I mean, we're currently focusing on companies that have mobile apps mainly, and they're product driven. So they actually need a design team that prepare the designs that then the developers use. And because we are working directly with the design files. So through the design files, you can access then the database, right? We're connecting the design files with the database so you can interact with your design with the SVG components, the design components, to access the data.
Okay. And you both have a background in data analytics, correct? So is this also how you met, through the scene, or like how come?
Yeah, exactly. So we've been working together for more than 3 years now. So we met at Neugelb. It's a subsidiary of the Commerzbank. And together we did analyze the Commerzbank app data of the users. And there we met,
Already quite a while ago.
And this was exactly like where you came up also with the idea?
Not exactly. I mean, there we did have an issue. So when I joined the team, the tracking was, I would say, over 50% of it was buggy. The implementation was not super well documented. So we soon realized that this was a big problem, right? Because then first you couldn't trust the data, and second, it was taking a lot of time to understand what the data meant that was being collected. And we started speaking with developers and with our data engineer to really understand how can we improve this process. And one thing we found out is that by combining the images or having a better documentation already led to almost no bugs at all in implementation of tracking. And later on, after we moved on, we were like, we definitely feel like starting something up. Maybe we could take this problem that we already solved there, that we know that other teams also have, and make a product out of it.
I would be interested how you would pitch Commerzbank your product now. Would you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, for sure. We already are talking to them.
Oh, perfect.
Much time they spend per week on just setting up the tracking, maintaining it. So we just say like, hey, if you want to reduce the amount of time you spend here for tracking maintenance, we just can reduce it by, 50%.
That's good. 50%. So have you also talked about price already? Or is it, so how far are you in that sense?
Not yet. We are at that stage where we are really looking for feedback from other users. So we want to let users test our app first, which is for free now as a first working prototype. And build up on this. Like we want to iterate or improve the whole product until we are at the point that we can charge money for it. So we are already offering a lot of stuff. Maybe it's already not super lean MVP anymore, but
that sounds good.
I guess it's good. It's progress. But so we're still trying to figure out like what the actual pricing model should be looking like at the end.
But for sure, the most important thing now is going to feedback loops, right, with your clients, and to really understand, first of all, if it's something they really need, and it's something that they want to use, and we're solving the problems the right way and the right problems, right? So this is priority number one for us now. And we actually yesterday got our first official yes for our pilot users, right, which is Forget Finance, the team behind Forget.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, how did you approach them? Was it through contact, or how do you approach generally like test customers?
We basically got the contact from our network, like we met the founder, and he really was like a good sparring partner for us so far. And then after a while, like when we showed him the first time our demo, he was like, okay, that sounds interesting. Like I guess you need to talk to our product manager, who's also very technical. So we met him yesterday or had an interview, and he was like very interested. So he's really looking forward to use the tool, which is great.
We also approached a bunch of people just randomly on LinkedIn, right? And I have to say, probably because we're also developing a tool that is very niche, right, for data teams or like technical product managers. The response is really great. Like we're speaking with people from Monzo, also from the UK. We had a super great call with the data team behind Tier Mobility, also with Contest. We also are going to speak with a VP of data at Booking.com, which is super cool. So it's really, really nice and exciting to see that people, first of all, they know that this is a problem they faced, and second, that they're willing to spare time to just talk with us, right, through our MVP and our ideas, kind of.
Aren't you afraid to just get pilot customers but never actually money? Or do you have a plan for that already?
That's actually a great question, because we moved a lot between like, should we charge money right away or should we offer it for free? And after talking to many other sparring partners, we came up with the idea to offer it for free. Because also like looking at other competitors or like say success stories of competitors that are still in the market, every one of them started like with a free model, because for us it's important that the people can get their hands dirty and just play around with it. And then after we get like great user feedback and the possibility to improve, like we're gonna charge money for the added on top features. So
the key is the analytics layer, right? So we want to be the go-to tool for tracking documentation and really focus on automating process, because everyone needs tracking documentation. It really makes a huge difference, but no one wants to do it, right? So we can automate and save time for people to do this. We're already solving a huge problem. And if we can do this with a low friction entry point, it's even better, right? So that's why we offer the free version. And then later on, because then we already have all your schema, your tracking schema is really easy to connect to the database. So then we go with analytics layer, and then we can charge a fee if you also want your stakeholders to have access to insights just by clicking, right? And this is a little bit where we will start making more revenue.
And how do you gather the feedback? Do you have a phone number where people call, or do you ask them for feedback after a certain time? Do you reach out by email? Because this is something that a lot of startups face, right? They are in the process of developing the prototype, then they're saying they're not charging, but they are looking for feedback, and then they actually forget to have a strategy how they ask and also analyze this feedback.
I mean, our goal now is to really find around 5 users or 5 teams that are going to use the app, so it's not too much and we can handle it, because we really want to involve with them in the whole process, right, of the migration and the setup and infrastructure, and also help them, right, do things that don't scale, right, as the very well known article. We also set up already a Discord channel, although we still want to make sure what is more convenient for people. I mean, we personally like Discord, but maybe a lot of people already use Slack, so it might be easier for them. This is something that we can change, of course, but that they can immediately post any bugs that they encounter there and then have any questions, so that we are always on Discord. We use it ourselves for communicating between us, so for us would be the best solution. But a combination of things, right? Really being there. I mean, the onboarding will be there on location with the team doing this, right? And then trying to take as much work from them that they don't need to do, and we can do it for them.
Exactly. So for us, it's really key that we build this community, so we have like direct contact to them, like keep in touch, and have no like third party involved, like in between or something.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, like you said, Asís, choosing the channel is dependent on the target group. If you have a lot of developers or data analytics people, then they're more used to Discord compared to maybe Slack. That's a little bit more common. We can get into totally different tools, right? But I guess this is then an interesting channel, to stay in touch with them. And I have experienced myself that a lot of startups offered stuff for free to test, and at the same time got them into a sort of community where it was not only about communicating the feedback, but also updates, right? Special offers later, maybe on whatsoever, right?
I mean, there is also tracking is it's a really big topic, right? And we have a very good vision for how to do it scalable and simplified in many ways, and we think this is the way to go. But and this is also something that the community can benefit from, right? Because everyone can have full control of how they want to track stuff. But there are, of course, better ways than other ways of doing it. And we also want to build a community where people discuss what they're doing and how they're doing it, so that everyone kind of together develop the best approach possible.
We have a special section in this podcast that is called Either Or. So I will give you two options, 2 words more or less, and I would like you to choose one, okay? In total 5. Yeah, and I'm really curious about your answers. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Wait. Do we have to say the word? Do we have to?
The word.
Okay. So we don't have to give an explanation, just choose.
Just choose.
You should answer simultaneously.
No, one of you.
Okay.
Are we under time pressure here?
Yeah, be as fast as possible. Good. Ready?
Steady go.
Good. Asís, product or culture?
I think a good culture makes a good product.
Philipp, no code or code?
Definitely code.
Asís, GDPR compliance now or later?
Keep it lean.
Philipp, Figma or Adobe?
Figma for sure.
And last but
Adobe now.
true. That was a tricky question. And Asís, last but not least, work-life balance or work-life integration?
What do you mean with work-life integration?
Just choose from your...
Work-life balance.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Was there anything where you disagreed with your co-founder?
No. we are strongly aligned.
Nice. We heard this quite often so far.
Yeah, this is till the real products come up, right?
But afterwards, we are going to start a fight.
Yeah. Afterwards, then you're going to argue about it, right? It's
Not exist without a fight.
and yeah, not publicly arguing it in a podcast, right? So the first one, Asís, was of course quite tricky. So choosing between product or culture, I think. To our listeners, it was a good choice to say, like, culture, of course, is always important. Otherwise, anyway, your startup or product will not matter at all, at least not in mid and long term. Philipp, we had already a few startups that preferred no code, especially because they were able to build things faster. But since you have a background also in web development, I guess this was your choice, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's due to my background, because I know, like, if I write it by myself, I can customize so much more. And in Rails, like we set it up right now, that's the coding language we use. It's also like very fast to build stuff. So for me, it's always the clear choice to code it by myself, for sure.
Okay.
I had to give this answer.
Yeah, well, I can totally understand.
Yeah, I totally understand to use no code as well. Like if there are like products that are already to use, or like artifacts you can quickly build together, for sure no code is also like a great choice.
Depends also on the context, right? If you're trying to validate something, I mean, you can just use a Figma mockup, right, to really do some UX testing. So I would say it depends on the choice. But in the end, if you want to have control, for sure code is the way to go.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're building as well, right? But for us, for sure.
Yeah. Regarding the GDPR question, I will not pinpoint you here, Asís, don't worry. I believe that startups need to have a clear balance, right, between how much effort it is while having a least of effort to be sort of compliant. Of course, the fully correct answer would be always compliant, but I guess reality shows that if you want to quickly build products, you need to find a way, to be on this edge, as people would call it, but let's not dive deeper in this. As I said, I would, of course, recommend always to be compliant. And when I said balance or integration, I guess this was a discussion a few years ago when it was, okay, should things be separate, right? So I'll go to work and then I go home and do something completely else? Or is it a sort of integration where there are no clear let's say barriers, or where it's both more or less at the same time, and it you don't really know whether there's a difference, because you always think about it, for example. So you would you change your answer there, Asís?
No, and if anything, I will stick more to to my answer.
So doing this, but then at another point the other thing, which is then hobbies, for example, etc. Yes,
I think bringing life and work together, in my opinion, is not the way to go. I think it's important to keep these things separately. First of all, it depends on what you're doing, right? Of course, as a founder, it's a very different thing as if you're an employee. But if the way you identify yourself depends too much on your job, this can be very risky, right? And can potentially lead to a burnout because you don't have control over it, right? First of all, the industry can change. Okay, today we're data analysts, tomorrow maybe nobody needs a data analyst. So who am I now? Second, you can get kicked out of the company because it's not your company, right? So I think it's really important to separate these two things and to find things that you truly are interested in yourself as well, right? Of course, we all need to make a living somehow. If you can make a living from something you're passionate about, then fantastic. But I think there's a very few people that are lucky enough to do it.
And would you also agree? Is it also for you a clear distinction between?
Yes. Because like Asís already mentioned, like the environment when it comes to jobs, like can change so quickly. Just think about ChatGPT right now. So so many people will change the way they work, and some people also will probably lose their jobs, which is sad. But at the same time, like if you identify 100% with your job and you suddenly lose it, who are you afterwards, man? So it's gonna mess you up, I guess. So it's always good to separate it and have another life, a personal life, after work, I guess.
I once had a great interview with a founder that told me, it was at least 1.5 years ago, that after his exit, he fell into a depression.
Wow. Yeah.
So can you guess why?
Yeah, probably he was completely 100% identifying with his startup, and suddenly he lost it, his baby. And I guess that's maybe even common around entrepreneurs, because if you build something by yourself, you have a much stronger identity with it, So
Yeah, the question is, where do you get your energy from? And he was taking his energy, so you're correct, Philipp, there, just from the startup, and not from the family. He had kids, family, right? And even with a lot of millions in the bank account, he was not satisfied. So that's pretty crazy. I learned from him more or less back then, that I should not only focus on the school year, for example, but on anything else that's going on.
But then again, I wouldn't blame him, right? Because
no, it's not blaming him.
It's a systematic problem, right? So then it's really about questioning the structures and the systems that we are living in and surrounded by, and not so much on, because it's when people have a burnout, right? We tend to blame it on the person, but it's not the person's problem, it's the system's problem.
It is. Right?
It's also a question of the character, right? And at the end of the day, the most important thing is, for me at least, that you find a balance between both work life and personal life. So that's basically it, to stay healthy.
Yeah, 100%. Regarding this healthy and exit scenario, finding a balance, I'm also curious, what are your plans? What are your next steps? So is an exit scenario, is here Adobe, Microsoft, maybe Hotjar is also, I don't know who owns it. Is there maybe somebody who owns Hotjar by now? So this is a heat map software service that is being used by a lot of e-commerce startups, so they can track the behavior of the users as long as they accept cookies and as long as they stay with us, right? So do you have any plans for the future? And is there something that you already keep in mind or already shapes your product because you are planning something in the future? Is there something where you would say it has an impact?
I mean, I think we're really trying to first find out if what we want to build is useful, and then we will maybe think of the future in that sense.
I also haven't personally thought like that long term, like how things might end up. So right now we're totally focused on the product right now and learn so much stuff. And so far I also had no room to think about this like in the long run.
Yeah. So you're not looking for the multi-million exit. You're more in love with the product as it is. It might develop right now. I see. Faces change. That's a different question.
I'd say it depends.
Yeah, for sure. Like being successful for sure, like is a goal. But define success. Like, is it like having millions in the bank account?
Yeah, what is it for you? What would it be for you?
Exactly. Like, for me, like I'm pretty happy right now. For sure. Like, I also want to. I always wanted to come up with a real product that people use. So it's very satisfying to me to build something that that actually can be used by people and support them in their day-to-day work or life. So this is already fulfilling. So what I'm doing right now, for sure, money always changes your life to the better, I would argue as well. But is it like the most important thing? That's the question everyone has to answer. Like it's a very personal answer, you know.
So when do you feel you would be successful with Glazed?
After a number, you mean? Like
whatever you feel saying. That's the question here. What do you feel? When would you be successful? At which point regarding your current startup idea?
I would say like when we get the product out there already and having people to use it. I mean, that's already a big success for me personally.
Yeah, people willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
market fit in that sense, right? I think that already shows the success of your product.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I wish you a lot of success, of course, definitely. Thank you so much for being with us here.
Thank you for having us.
Ciao, ciao.